Hi, I'm Rebecca Olson, CEO of the Maryland Association of CPAs. This year, we're thrilled to once again host the MACPA Foundation's Women to Watch Awards. We're excited to celebrate 30 amazing female leaders in our profession. And these awards not only recognize their success and contributions, but also inspire the next generation of leaders. Join me now for a brief interview with one of our incredible honorees, and we hope to see you in person on September 26th at our Women to Watch Awards breakfast.
My name is Molly McCafferty. I am a partner at CohnReznick here in Bethesda, Maryland. I've been with the firm for the last 15 years or so and have been in the partnership for only the last year and a half. So relatively new partner, but I also serve on the board of the Women's Affordable Housing Network here in the DMV, as well as the board at American University for their accounting advisory group.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on being honored as one of the top female leaders here in our accounting and finance profession in Maryland. I would imagine there's several accomplishments over a 15-year career, but what accomplishment would you say maybe that you're most proud of thus far in your career?
So it'll sound a little cliche, but I am most proud of making partner at CohnReznick. It, of course, is a big accomplishment in itself, but the period of time that I did it in is what really stands out to me. And it really stands out because it shows such a turn in the profession. And so I made partner in 2022. I had my first child in spring of 2021. About 2 weeks before I was due, and I had a meeting with all of the leaders of our firm about my potential presentation and making partner and all of that. And I got nothing but support in my role, my future role as a partner, as well as my future role as a new mother. And I think that really just shows what has changed in the profession in diversity and inclusion. And so I went out on maternity leave. I, spent that time learning how to be a mom, and then came back in about 3 weeks after I came back from leave. I had my first presentation for partner, and things kind of just rolled from there. And of course, it was a really challenging time in my career as well, just learning how to balance personal and professional and all of that, kind of all new to me. But I think the fact that everyone was so supportive of this goal of mine, and making sure that I could marry those professional and personal goals. And I think it really just shows that the profession has grown so much, and I hope, it will continue to grow. But I think it really was something that just stood out to me in making the accomplishment just that much more sweet.
Absolutely. That is a wonderful period of time, I'm sure, and a very challenging period of time,
Yes.
right? Sometimes the greatest blessings are challenges as well.
Yes, and I can remember
Yeah.
practicing my presentation with my son, who was home with an ear infection, sitting on the floor next to me, and I was like, "Wow, this is a whole new world
A
for
whole new
me."
world, and I just, yeah, that story that you'll be able to tell him that he was
Yeah,
part of that.
yeah, and
Um,
he really was. It was,
really.
for the whole part.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you mentioned a little bit about how you've seen the accounting and finance profession change, um, and for the better, right? It's one of those professions that is constantly evolving. What advice would you give to a young person that's entering the profession over kind of the changes that you've seen?
Yeah. I'm very actively involved back at American, and I try to stay in touch with kind of our younger staff and recruiting and all of that. And I talk to them a lot, and I think the best advice I can give them is to be flexible and excited to learn. The profession is always changing, and I think in the next decade we're going to see a wild amount of changes, not just with technology, but also just the philosophical approach to the profession. And so I think that desire to learn and to be flexible in your environment is something that is the most beneficial at this point, because even what I do today is probably not going to be the same thing that I do 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And it's definitely not the same thing I did 5 years ago. And so I think that understanding that change is going to be an evolutionary part of the profession, and really embracing it is something that I think will really help young people as they grow in the career. And I hope also bring great new ideas that all of us can learn from.
Absolutely. Yeah. I heard it once that the most critical skill is the ability to learn new skills,
Yeah,
right? And so
exactly.
keeping that open mind, especially in this profession. So as you've learned and grown, who's been a significant mentor or role model to you?
I've been really lucky to have a lot of mentors and role models in my career. But the first person who comes to mind for me is my mother.
Mhm.
And she was absolutely not an accountant. She said, and I was in eighth grade, I think, and she said, no more help with your math homework. You're on your own. I can't do this anymore. But her profession was HR, and she was an HR director at a lot of different places throughout my career, my life. And it taught me more about business than anyone has ever taught me. Because everyone thinks accounting is about numbers, right? We all sit at a screen and we read spreadsheets, but really, a public accounting specifically is a profession about people. And so we are constantly talking to people, not just the ones we work with, but our clients, but other players in our deals, lawyers and bankers, and all of these other people that we're talking to. And so understanding the way people work has been the most beneficial thing that I could learn. And learning that from someone who spent her life dedicated to that has been so valuable. She taught me how to identify people's strengths and understand how to help them grow and help to understand their motivations. And so I think that's something that's so valuable in our careers. It has nothing to do with the numbers or with what you learn in school. And we talk a lot about how in public accounting specifically is one of the only places where the accountants also become the business owners. And so your job, it becomes managing the people. And so I think that's something that she taught me a lot about, and it made me intrigued to keep that as a part of my job as I continue to grow as well, even if I was more focused on the numbers the math.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There is this kind of misconception that accounting is all about numbers, but you're absolutely right. It is about people. And so MACPA has been on this journey to try and amplify that message as well, to really kind of change some of the narrative in our profession, both internally of how we talk about the work that we do, because sometimes we're our own worst enemy in complaining, but also, externally, how the profession is viewed. And so I wonder, in that journey, we have really narrowed in on purpose. Like, what is the end impact and purpose of why we do what we do, right? There's people, there's numbers, but what end are we really motivated by? And so for you, Molly, what would you say would be your CPA purpose?
Yeah, so I work specifically in our affordable housing industry. And so my CPA purpose is really rooted in my desire to help communities thrive. And so I was really drawn to this affordable housing industry because I realized that that was making a direct impact on people's lives. And so it was so much more than the spreadsheets and the numbers, but building these units and these homes for people to spend their lives in and to have this place, this catalyst for success. The need for housing is so fundamental, and we are in such a housing crisis in this country. And so, having just one more unit or one more home when these projects are getting built gives one more person or one more family that place, that safe place to call home. And so changing not just their lives, but maybe their children's lives, it's something that is so dear to my heart, and seeing those people grow. I have a client right now where we're working on trying to implement a daycare center into their community center that they've built. And as someone who with a child in daycare, finding daycare is so hard right now. And so I know that if they have a place to send their 2 and 3 and 4 year olds, that allows these people to, be able to work more or grow more or take classes or do all of these things to help advance themselves. And it gives those children a safe place to grow up and to learn and to have all of those experiences. And so I again, I sit here and I look at numbers and I look at funding, but we're moving around pieces and we're thinking about, okay, if we get funding from this source instead of this source, then they can build more units, or they have more money to build another property. And so I really love to see that actual impact of when that project goes up, or when those people move in. And every little bit helps. And so really working towards that end goal of bringing all the parties together and getting those projects off the ground is something that just speaks to me personally.
Yeah, what a blessing to be able to have that direct impact and to see that, and to have that motivation that, the work that you're doing every day is providing stability, providing opportunity for
Right.
people in the community
And it's
is
something
what a
I
blessing.
sometimes have to remind myself of, right? When you're in the throes of tax season, or you're really deep into it, remembering that that's the end goal, and that that's what we're all trying to come together to do.
Absolutely. Doesn't make it the work easier. It makes the work more purposeful or impactful, right? And so
Exactly. Yes.
certainly a motivating factor. That's amazing. So at our Women to Watch Awards, we honor two different categories of leaders. We have experienced leaders and emerging leaders. And of course, that common word is leader, and we really believe you can lead from any seat. So I'm curious, Molly, for you, what does being a leader mean?
Being a leader to me means really being a role model, but most importantly, supporting those people around you. So that doesn't necessarily just mean people who are coming up behind you, but also your peers, the people that you work externally with. You can't be a leader without people to lead. And so those people, their success is so entwined with your own success. So whether that's being, available for help, helping them drive purpose, helping them answer questions, helping them figure out their own path. And that's a very important part of it too, is that everyone has their own path. And so someone else's choices aren't going to be the same as mine, and that's okay. And that doesn't mean that they are any different or anything, but it means that we need to find the right space for each person to work in. And then that can be what drives the success of everyone. So I really think it's getting that group mentality and working towards a common goal, but helping people along the way, whether that's professionally or personally, and making sure that they have the support that they need as well.